I hope you enjoyed our Cambridge Creative Encounters partnerships, and we now have the chance to hear from our researcher Alexander Loktionov and the creative Skye Putwain that collaborated on this project. Hi to you both, and I'll start with Skye first. And the question is, how was it working with a researcher, with Alex, and what did you value most in your collaboration?
Working with a researcher, usually when I create anything, it tends to be quite independent. So having that collaborative side was very helpful, because I could kind of somewhat depend on somebody to kind of feed me information and always get feedback, etc. So that was helpful, and I think I also learned a lot, obviously, and that was it was nice to not only just be creative in something, but also have an actual source to kind of draw off, rather than just making anything really. And value-wise, what I value the most, not too sure. Probably, I'd say I valued the kind of when it comes to the creative process, I valued the constant kind of development of it. So I liked how we were always kind of fleshing out the project and adding to it and changing parts of it, and basically just developing it.
And what did you need to know from Alex when you first started your creative process, and what were your tools to interpret his research?
Well, tool-wise, I was given a lot of written work to read, so just to kind of and then highlight important facts, dates, etc. And I have barely any knowledge on the subject, so for me, I learned a lot. But I thought it was interesting, and that's why I chose the subject matter, because it's something I actually have an interest in. So yeah, that was learning-wise. I had to absorb a lot of information, but I could always go back on it and read through it. And I tended to. So there was I think it was a document of different texts from the different historians and also Alex himself, and just kind of dissecting it, picking out parts that I found most useful, and then trying to compress it into something that I could create. So whether that was being particular with dates or with the setting or laws or whatever it was tended to be breaking it down. Basically I had to break down the text I was given and just put it in a way that made sense, not just for Alex or myself, but for other people, so it was accessible for more than just one type of person, or if that makes sense.
And Alex, how was it working with Skye?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just have to say a really huge thank you to Skye and also to Creative Encounters for making this happen. It's been a real privilege and an honor to be part of this. I think one of the things which you sometimes miss as a university researcher is interaction with people who are outside of that quite narrow academic bubble. Egyptology, I think, by anybody's standards, is a fairly esoteric discipline, or at least can be that. You spend a lot of time working with texts that really very few people are able to read and understand. You then maybe publish something and engage in academic debate with maybe 3 or 4 other people in the world, and that can be it can be uplifting in a way, but also I think it's important to be mindful that there are actually much larger audiences out there that we have to engage with, and that was about working with that. Obviously here is somebody with a very different background and a very different skill set who is able to bring a very different kind of perspective on the project. So I was really able to understand and to learn about how we can make these things accessible to audiences who probably are interested in ancient Egypt. I think there are a lot of people out there who have that general interest, but who would not necessarily be drawn to ancient Egyptian law. I think that it's fair to say that ancient Egyptian law isn't something that immediately attracts attention. So it was really fantastic to get Skye to bring about change there.
And you have already partly answered this question actually, but I also was wondering, what were your expectations before you started the project, and did you already have a particular style in mind or a level to pitch your research? And the key thing is, did this change afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I went into this really with an open mind. My main objective was to have something, to produce something, and I kept saying that. I mean, Skye, you'll remember me stressing this point from an early stage. You know, we have to get something. I don't mind actually what it is. I thought maybe it would be a kind of a mini game or something. That was my kind of initial thought. But once Skye said that, you know, what she's best at is animation and making basically movies, I thought great. Because from my perspective, what really matters at this point isn't necessarily the type of media that we generate, but actually just being able to generate something that is of a standard that is, you know, obviously both very high, but also approachable and accessible. Because there's just nothing out there. There are, various Egypt-inspired works of fiction, shall we say, you know, films like The Mummy or whatever, where Egyptology is really very distorted. Or then there are academic articles where there is no real effort to be accessible. So my aim was to have something in that middle space, something that would be both Egyptologically very rigorous and which, if necessary, you know, could be defended by peer-reviewed articles and whatever, but that also would be of relevance to the average human in the street. And in the end, by working with Skye, it became clear that the avenue down which we should go would be a film, and an animated film. I think also the fact that we were doing this in lockdown made that decision easier. And in the end, I think it all worked really well, and I'm excited about the future audiences that we're going to be able to unlock. And I just really also want to emphasize this point about lockdown. I think the conditions in which we were doing these projects are obviously unprecedented and really tough. And I'm so grateful to Skye and to Cambridge Creative Encounters for keeping the faith and in making that happen. I'm sure it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. And it was such a pleasure working with you. And we hope to work with you again in the future.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.